Welcome to the Agent Goldmine, the only podcast in the world specifically for real estate agents who are stuck at 5 transactions a year to help them get to 20 plus. Your hosts, Ali Garced and Shelby Johnson, two EXP icon agents, each do over 40 transactions a year and interview others who are crushing it. In this podcast, you'll receive the knowledge to help you scale your business using systems and processes with our interviews and monologues twice a week. If you want to be a part of our community, reach out. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to another episode of The Agent Goldmine, where we, your hosts, Ali Garced and Shelby Johnson, are giving you as tactical of tips as we can to help you increase your business. This is what we do. Today's topic, I'm covering how to stay safe when showing homes. And this may not be a very popular topic, but I personally have had a scare, and an agent in our community has had a scare. And so I want to, prior to me being a real estate agent, I was a federal agent. And I always had a gun on my hip. I felt like I was just good. If anything were to go down, I'm good. And then as I started showing homes, a lot of my clients were out of state, usually out of country. So I would be going solo to a lot of places, which I tend to prefer. um, but I would be going solo, and sometimes there would just be creeps. So I want you to be aware of trust your gut. And I'm going to give you some tactical tips on this too. So hopefully you can share with a friend if they have ever gone through a scare. Hopefully this helps them. And if you have any other tips that I am not going to be mentioning during this podcast, or I forget or something like that, please let us know. I would love to maybe do a more thorough one later on, or maybe even have you as a guest if you are good at that. So when I first got licensed, it was my first year. It I was going through a lot of solo home showings for out of state and out of country buyers. There was one time where I went to a house that was listed by a big company that no longer sells homes. And as I walked in, I, took my phone. I locked the door behind me. I'll go into the tips after, but I'm on my way out. I'm wrapping up with the property. And as I am leaving, I see this kind of sketch looking van. It always ends up being sketch looking van, right? Parked right outside, and a guy with without any name tag or any sort of identifying, hoodie or vest or anything like that, started approaching me. And he's tatted up to his neck. Not to speak badly about anybody tatted, but if you don't have anything to show your identity, your van is unmarked, there were a lot of red flags. And he started walking toward the right to the door where I was about to wrap up. So he was walking too fast before I could lock the door. So by the time he got there, we're just 20 steps away, he was like, "Hey, I work for, hey, I need to get in the house." Along those lines, right? This is 3 years ago, so I don't remember verbatim, but he pretty much was like, "Hey, I need to get in the house." I'm like, "Okay, I will lock up and then you can open up right after me." Because I was a new agent and ain't no way I am passing a key to anybody who I think is a realtor. I'm not passing the key to anybody. I'm not about to lose my license because of you. So I was like, "Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'll lock up and then you can get access." And without being um without being super aggressive, the whole thing was very kind of under the aggressive mark. So it was I was letting shit slide instead of him charging after me and I know this is a threat. Um but he was like, "Oh, I mean, it's fastest now if you could just pass me the key." And I was like, "Oh, I just got licensed and I'm scared of doing that." I straight up said that. I was like, "No, no, I'll lock the door." And he goes, "Well, it's the company that sent me here because I need to check the water." And I was like, so he's the line that he had, it could have been true. This whole thing could have been true. And at that point, maybe there's a reason that company stopped selling homes because of how sketchful this was. But it started. I started to get a bad gut feeling, and I'm alone. This is daylight. It's I don't know what time, maybe midday. But there's like no one really in the neighborhood. And I'm like looking around, like nobody's out in the lawn, like there's nobody around. Um, and I have dealt with a situation just like this before, not with real estate. But I was like, okay, at this point, I don't feel good. And I don't know if this person works for this company that he says he's working for. And his van doesn't really look like it has materials. It just, nothing added up. And at that point, because as he's talking, I kind of like, I turn sideways so that way I still have somewhat of a look at him while locking up the door. So that way my back isn't to him. But I locked up and I was like, okay, sweet, just call the company and they'll let you in. He was like, well, but I don't have the code and it takes a long time to get to the company. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure what to tell you because if you work for the company, they're not giving you the code to go in. Like maybe talk to the manager. And at this point, I'm like walking out, like I don't feel good. I have locked up and it was just something that maybe had I left the property a little bit late, had he walked in, um, while I was still taking photos, granted the door was locked, but it could have been worse, I think. So at that point, I hadn't heard of a couple of, stuff that I'll be telling you later in this show. But it stuck with me because I'm like, wow, I no longer have that gun on my hip. I no longer have like my badge, I no longer like my sense of feeling protected went a little bit down. And especially the fact that like nobody was around. I think I could have yelled and it was midday. People are at work, people aren't home. So I'm like, huh. After that, one of our teammates was going to a property to show a home by herself, about like 45 minutes away in an area that she doesn't really normally like working. And prior to that, the listing agent told our agent, and he said, "By the way, the seller likes to stay during the property showings. Like, do you mind?" And she goes, "Okay, that's fine. I'm just there to take some photos, and I'll be out of his way." So she goes down there, and the seller is a total creep. He had such a big property that like he almost had like a cliff like on his in his backyard. It was like a cliff with no barrier, no ledge, no railing, no nothing. And the seller was really trying to get Aaron to the agent to go toward the edge of this like cliff. And he was like, "Well, I really really want to show you the view." And she's like, "I can see it from here." And Aaron has more sass than I do. I'm like so I'm very very proud of her. Plus she's like hella CrossFit. She can handle her own. But she's like, "Oh, I'm good. I can see it from here. And I took my video. This is just for the buyer. I don't think this is his number one property." Uh, and then he was like, "Okay, fine. Well, let me show you the basement." And he was very insistent. And this entire time he was hitting on her, saying like, "How is she so beautiful? Like, look at her blonde hair, like all this. Do you have a twin?" And she's like, "Well, I'm married." And that's where he was like, "Do you have a twin?" And it was just he was like, "Well, I really need to show you the basement." And she's like, "You know what? I don't need to see it." And so she started leaving the property, and he was just like very, very, a lot more so aggressive than the guy that I dealt with, claimed that he worked for a water company for the company. And I, and it was just like two scary situations. And after that, someone in Arizona, which is where we work, was killed at an open house. So it's like there are situations in which you may have a gut feeling, and I want you to be able to protect yourself, or at least just be aware of stuff that you can do to protect yourself. So I'm going to start with number one, which is the Forewarn app. This will majority of the time come included with your MLS. Even if it is not included, which first ask your broker, "Hey, is this free for me to use?" Forewarn, Forewarn. It should be free. If it is not, I 100% believe it is worth it, especially if you feel like you may not be able to handle your own. Look up. This is going to be more so for people meeting with strangers. So if you get your business from online leads that you don't know, you're going to be meeting people at property instead of just solo showings. I highly suggest looking at the Forewarn app. It's in my opinion, it's not the most intuitive. So maybe go on YouTube and get your education on YouTube on how to use Forewarn and start using it so that way you can run everyone's name and number and email through it. So that way you know who you're dealing with. Is this a felon? Is this who is this person? Um, Number two,
If you are looking to change brokerages this year so you can increase your business and you want to join us at eXp Realty and would like either myself, Ali Garced, or Shelby Johnson to personally sponsor you in, so that way you have access to 2 icon agents, text the word JOIN to either my number, 914-318-4918,
or Shelby's number, 859-267-3849.
If I sponsor you and you have access to the both of us and everything that's Five Pillars Nation, we have the checklist, the systems, the processes to help you scale your business. And don't take our word for it. We've had agents switch brokerages to join us that were stuck making $300,000 GCI, and they join us so they can scale. So text the word JOIN to those numbers and we'll take the next steps.
Before you start showing homes or doing an open house, or whether you're solo or with someone else, share your location with your spouse, a family member, a friend that knows that you're going to be going out to a property. Hey, I'm going to be doing showings today from around 2 to 6. I will be solo or I will be with them. So I'm sharing my location on either your iPhone or etc. Share your location. Number 3 is, if your state allows it, I don't know if there are any states, or shoot, even if your state doesn't allow it, maybe carry some mace. As a federal agent, we had training with mace and we all had to be pepper sprayed. And it was the worst thing in the world, especially for my females that wear eyeliner. I rubbed off as much as I could, but it like sticks onto that eyeliner, bro. It is so bad. So I used to carry mace up until the day that I got pepper sprayed. And after that, I said, if I'm ever downwind, like I will never have enough time in a physical situation to be able to determine the way that the wind is blowing to make sure I am upwind. Because if I'm ever downwind, I just fucked myself. So I threw that shit out. I was like, I'm not doing this. But if you trust yourself to do it, carry mace. If you're meeting other people at a property, always let them walk in first. Be the last one to walk in the property. And if you're showing, strangers properties, don't lock the door behind you. I would say keep it open. Because if you ever need to exit like super, super fast, the last thing you want to do is be fumbling over a lock. Um, I would say wear appropriate attire. And by that, I mean running shoes so you can bolt the fuck out of there should you need to. Don't look cute, but that's coming from someone who barely ever wears a bra and always wears a hoodie and beanie. um, but the opposite, if you're showing property solo, lock the door behind you. And overall, if you end up getting into like a situation or a conversation, try to de-escalate as much as possible. Like what I would, instead of coming at it aggressively, which will only cause the other person to be even more aggressive, and then it's a race to be whoever is most aggressive will win. This is what I used to like teach other military members who were traveling overseas. I used to give them security briefs. The least aggressive that you can be, the better. Like that could save your life. If someone's stealing your wallet, let them steal your wallet, because they're likely to do a lot more should you try to fight for a couple of fucking credit cards. So if you can, stay calm, be non-aggressive, maybe even throw in some jokes. Like what I said with the person who was trying to get into the property. I was like, oh, I just got licensed and I'm not trying to lose it. So I'm sorry. I'm going to lock up this door and then you can open up right after. I'm so sorry that I have to do this. And so it's like, I don't know, stuff like that. Just try to develop as many like de-escalation skills as possible. And also at the same time, being assertive. Like this is what Erin did, where she was like, I don't need to be at the very edge of this cliff. I can see the view from here. I don't need to go to the basement. I am done. Um, Also, if you work in areas that are maybe far away or you don't feel comfortable showing it, don't go. Like don't even bring a friend, just don't go. Say, sorry client, I don't work those areas. That is okay. That is not steering. That is drawing your own personal boundary of where you feel comfortable, because nothing is worth your life. There is no commission check that is big enough to make it worth your life. I promise you that. Um, number, I don't know what we're on right now, 10, 9, maybe take some self-defense classes. And overall, the last tip is to just trust your gut. Your gut will tell you. Like your mind, when you're in situations like that, your mind will think a mile a minute. It's analyzing stuff a lot faster than you think you're even analyzing at. Because it was only after I sped away from that situation that I noticed that there was no that I like took a step back and like realized there was nobody outside. Like I feel like I could have yelled and there were no cars in the driveway. So your brain is observing, and even though your mind hasn't thought it yet out loud, your brain is able to see a lot of things. And there's like a lot of examples of like military, active duty people in combat situations where they just got blown up and they know exactly where their teammates are. It's like, it's kind of weird, but like your brain assesses the situation very fast. So trust your gut. That's what's telling your gut. So short episode. Shelby, do you have any questions?
No, I mean, dude, I really enjoyed that, which is funny because before we hit record on this, I was like, I would never listen to this episode on staying safe. I would skip. But no, I thought that your story really brought it to life for me, and I was a little freaked just thinking about it. And also, yeah, the tips are really good. And I need to be better about this shit because I'm like so trusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and women tend to be more trusting than men. So, if you want, bring a friend. I hope that this helped. If there are any other tips that I had, like tactical stuff that I haven't gone over, please let me know. I would love to share it with the world. So, thank you so much. Share this with someone who may be a little bit scared. And yeah, be a bro. Share this show.